Welcome back to Analytical Strategy. Today we are talking about some of the most surprising votes for a winner by a jury member in Survivor. Now, Survivor is a game where social relationships and bonds can really be the difference maker in receiving a jury vote, and really ultimately winning or losing the game. Due to this, most of the time a viewer will have a pretty good understanding of the votes the jury will cast for a winner, as we are shown a story throughout the duration of the season, of who is aligned with who, and which contestants have strong relationships with who. Whilst this is the case, there have still been several occasions where a jury member has made an unexpected vote for a player to win the title of Sole Survivor, and today we are going to be discussing 5 of these occasions. So just before we get stuck into it, another big thank you to everyone who has supported the channel so far. We look to bring some really unique concepts and discussions about Survivor to Analytical Strategy, and the channel wouldn't be possible without your support. So if you would like to see more content, please hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content coming very soon. Thank you very much again, and let's get stuck into these 5 unexpected jury votes in Survivor. So firstly, we're going to be talking about NaOnka voting for Fabio to win in Survivor Nicaragua. Now, NaOnka and Fabio's relationship throughout this season was absolutely hilarious. Throughout the season, NaOnka would often get stuck into Fabio, saying things like she doesn't like him openly to his face. There were times where Fabio would often try to initiate conversations with NaOnka and just get shut down. NaOnka would say how dumb she thought Fabio was in her confessionals. She stole his socks, and he couldn't even ask if she accidentally took them before she started jumping down his throat. It really was a great rivalry to watch throughout this season. Due to this edit, it was really surprising that NaOnka voted for Fabio to win the game. I think they were much closer than what the edit portrayed, but these arguments they had were just way too good, and the producers were almost forced to show their relationship in this argumentative light. Apparently one of the things they really bonded over was marijuana, which is why NaOnka put 420 on her voting parchment as she cast the winning vote for Fabio. As Fabio won in a 5-4 vote against Chase, this vote ultimately got Fabio the win for the season, and it would be great to see these two return in a rival season or something like that. However, I can't see that happening due to NaOnka quitting the game. So up next, we're going to be talking about Christian voting for Mike over Nick in Survivor David versus Goliath. Now this particular vote to me became more clear as the tribal progressed that Christian would have actually voted for Mike, but all things leading up to this tribal would have suggested he was almost a lock to vote for Nick. I mean, the Mason-Dixon duo was a force throughout a very large duration of the game. They made many strategic decisions together and were a key duo in many of the votes which allowed them to both progress further in the game. Now whilst this was the case, I think Christian is the type of player and has the type of personality that would have come into the final tribal council completely open and really wanted to vote for who he believed played the best game, rather than the person he was closest to socially. Some of Mike's jury speech you could really see resonated with Christian. There was a comment that Mike made about it not being about the pot of gold at the end, but it was about the rainbow and the journey he made, which visibly made Christian emotional, and again plays to his personality traits. The Christian was there for a life-changing experience and to get out of his shell more than anything else. Due to this, when Christian cast his vote, stating Mike played a transformational game, it wasn't too surprising when he reached that piece of parchment. But leading up to this final tribal, I think most would have thought his vote would have been going to his buddy Nick, and the Mason to his Dixon. So up next, we're going to be talking about Victoria voting for Chris over Gavin in Survivor The Edge of Extinction. Now this vote was a really big surprise to me, as Victoria and Gavin were such good friends throughout the entirety of the time they were in the game together. They basically voted together every single time, and they made a lot of their moves in sync with one another based on what we viewed on TV. So as a viewer, even though Chris had a phenomenal final episode, it was really difficult to see him getting the majority of the vote going into this tribal council, due to him not making a lot of the decisions as who to win home until the final 6. Also, as Victoria had such a strong game, and Gavin was next to her all of the way, it really looked as though she would reward her partner in crime, especially as when she was blindsided, she stated she was voting for Gavin to win. It was later revealed this statement was more so made as an attempt to put more of a target on Gavin in the later stages of the game, by looking like a jury threat, to try and get the other contestants to vote him out. Victoria has stated that she voted for Chris, as she was more impressed by his massive moves at the end of the game compared to the moves Gavin made throughout the duration of the game. which shows a lot of how Survivor is perceived. The big flashy moves are much more likely to get you votes in comparison to more subtle gameplay. Whilst this vote was a massive shock to me, I'm still a massive Victoria fan and I hope she can come back in a season in the near future. So up next, we're going to be talking about Frosti voting for Todd over Courtney in Survivor China. Now, Frosti and Courtney had a really strong relationship throughout the time they were in the game together, so this vote was also really surprising to me. I actually thought for a very long time that one of the 2 votes Courtney got was actually from Frosti, and was surprised to realise that they were from James and Denise. When Frosti was in the game, it was evident that Courtney and himself were very tight, even at times being deemed as Courtney's Survivor boyfriend. It was also further a surprise that he voted for Todd given the nature he was voted out of the game. He became a target due to how tight of a pair Courtney and himself were. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Todd's final tribal council speech tipped Frosti over the line, as it really was one of the best the game has ever seen. If Frosti had voted for Courtney, it would have been the first tied vote in Survivor history, and would have made Survivor China more iconic than it already is. So finally, we're going to be talking about Christy voting for Jenna over Matt in Survivor the Amazon. So this for me is the most surprising jury vote in the history of Survivor, and that is for a couple of reasons. Firstly, and most obviously, when Christy was voted out, she was absolutely livid with Heidi and Jenna. She referred to them as her evil stepsisters, and under no circumstances was she going to allow either of them to win the $1 million and the title of sole survivor. In addition, although she may have thought Matt was a little bit creepy at times, she seemed to have a pretty strong relationship with him and Butch, working together with them for the majority of the post-merge. Even with this animosity towards Jenna, along with her good friendship with Matt, Christy still voted for Jenna to win the game. Christy explained in the reunion that she ultimately voted for Jenna as she outwitted, outplayed and outlasted her, and that's why she cast that vote. There are rumours though that Christy didn't fully understand the voting guidelines at this final tribal, and she thought she was voting Jenna out of the game, rather than voting for Jenna to win the game. Now this may be true, but I'm going to give Christy the benefit of the doubt here and state that she voted correctly for Jenna to win, but it is an interesting theory nonetheless. Either way, it was still a really shocking result, and probably the most shocking of any jury member since the commencement of the show. These are just 5 examples of jury members who have made surprising votes based on the story we received as a viewer. Are there any other examples that came to mind for you? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the content. This is Analytical Strategy signing out once again, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.